I had my first child at 17 years old. By the age of 25, I had 3 children. How do I get out of this situation? So at 25 years old, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I didn't know who I wanted to be when I grew up. I, at that point, felt like I can overcome anything. I did my real estate exam. I did the schooling. Within a month, I got my real estate license. I was able to overcome the odds. Surround yourself with good people. Every no is one closer to your yes.
I have a wonderful guest here today to share her story. I tell you, this story is gonna inspire you. Yes, you're gonna believe that anything is possible. Like, it doesn't really matter where you're starting from. There is a great future. So I have Erica Perez here today, the founder, CEO of PG Realty Group. Thank you so much for choosing to join me today and share your story. Like, I'm so grateful. Can you just let us know, who is Erica? We want to know you.
Well, thank you for having me, Hadiza. My name is Erica Perez. I am from the origin of my parents are from Puerto Rico. I was born and raised in Newark, New Jersey. Raised by a wonderful grandmother that taught me a lot of amazing qualities, and that persistence was key to life. So, I grew up in a pretty diverse neighborhood, with very limited resources, but I always had the foundation at home, the love of God, and the idea of there's so much more to this world than here. I am a single mom with 3 children, and I have 4 grandchildren that I absolutely adore. They have been my wife. My father has 9 children, so I'm one of 9. My mom has 2. I am the youngest of both. Basically was a single mom. I raised 3 kids by myself. Erica is a happy, and I'm definitely an optimist, right? I try to find the great in everything. No matter what the obstacles are, I always try to find, okay, what is great about this, and let's move past that. So that kind of sums up who Erica Perez is.
The interesting thing is, when you said something like you find the great in everything that happens to you, that's actually your story, actually. Your ability to find, I would say, beauty out of all that life threw at you. That's your story. And I just want you to take us back, because many are going to see you, Erica, the owner of PG Realty Group, and you have this wonderful real estate agency with so many agents working with you, and people are wondering, right? How did you get here, right? To understand the heights that you've achieved by looking back, right? Like, what happened to Erica? So if you want to take us back to, that chapter in your mid-20s, you are a single mom of 3 young children. Can you describe your daily challenges and how life felt at that time of your life?
Oh man. So if I get emotional, I'm a crybaby by nature. I had my first baby at 17 years old. I think at that time in the 1990s, the early 90s, it was almost like a fashion trend. There was so much teen pregnancy. I had my first child at 17 years old. By the age of 25, I had 3 children, and it just, one morning I woke up and I said, okay, I'm a mom. I have 3 children, right? How do I be of an influence to my children? How do I get out of this situation? So at 25 years old, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know what I wanted out of life. I didn't know who I wanted to be when I grew up. I had the opportunity to meet my stepfather at the age of 16. So he was a very important part of my journey. So at 25 years old, very unstable, very immature, growing up in a more poverty-stricken environment. There was so many limitations. So being a 25-year-old single mom, but I always had this thing in me that I was like, there's something more to life. This just isn't it. And at 25 years old, after I had my 3rd child, that was a wake-up call. Mm-hmm. There was no other way. I couldn't look back, right? I had to keep looking forward, not in the rearview mirrors, because it was do or die. I had to figure life out for my 3 children. 3 little kids depending on a 25-year-old mom. And at 25, having 3 children at 25 and being a single mom was a very difficult task. But that's when my journey began to start to find myself. My children were 100% my why, but at 25 years old was when I started to realize that I had to do something with my life so that I can give my children a better home, not worry about having my electricity cut off, my gas cut off, coming home and I used to call it the flashlight party. Flashlight parties when the electricity got cut off. I didn't want the kids to realize. So we would all come home with flashlights and kind of sleep together. And if there was no heat, everybody came to mommy's bed. I tried to also make it fun for them so that they didn't realize what we were going through. I was 25. I was super unstable. I was probably a hot mess. I'm sure I gave my mother a run for it. I grew up in a home with a lot of women that were very dignified. They were about education. And here was Erica Perez, 25-year-old crazy wild girl that lived just lived on the edge. And at that point, I realized that something had to change for my future and for my children's future. They were always my first intention. Everything I kind of did was for them. And at 25 years old, I realized that there had to be so much more to life than living on the system, having a job, and just still being so, having that poor mentality, like life happened, woo-hoo, I'm a victim. This is going to be my life forever. But I knew that God had a greater calling over my life. And at 25, I got saved. It's when I met Jesus, and that was a definitely turning point in my life because I, at that point, felt like I can overcome anything. And I was just relentless. If I wanted to do something, I was going to do it. And at 25 years old, I decided to go to school for massage therapy. I was working at a dental office as a dental assistant. It was the only job I could find because my stepfather, which is my dad, right? He was a dentist and he gave me an opportunity to learn the business and to grow. And from then forward, it was like, okay, I need to figure out something to do with my life. I went to massage therapy school and I'm thankful for it. I didn't actually love it. Again, I still didn't know who I wanted to be when I grew up. I knew that I liked to help people. I knew that it was just always in me to be a giver and to be of service. I became a massage therapist. I worked 2 jobs. I continued to go to school. And, there was so many obstacles, right, that still come against. I think that sometimes the closer you're getting to God and so many more obstacles come across you and you feel defeated. But through my defeat, I always looked at my children and said, I have to do this for them because I'm what they have. And I would say roughly around the age of 28, 29, at 28, I decided no more massage therapy. I was working 2 jobs. It was difficult. And I had a very good friend of mine that introduced me into real estate. And I said, let me get another certification. I had got certifications in a bunch of different things, but I still couldn't find the way to really provide for my children a financially stable home, at least give them their basic needs. I could give them all the love in the world, but I needed to be able to help them. And I decided to do the real estate exam and say, hey, let me see how that goes. I knew nothing about real estate. It was not a language that I spoke. I was in the medical field for so long. My ultimate vision was to be a nurse, again, in the field of helping people. I went to school for nursing for a little bit. But it was always so difficult with the children getting sick, daycare, childcare. I worked at the hospital for University Hospital in Newark. But it was just so difficult that I said, well, maybe if this works for me, I can really be an actual hands-on mom. So I did my real estate exam. I did the schooling. Within a month, I got my real estate license and I closed on my first deal.
Wow.
That was the beginning of a complete different trajectory of my future, my children's future. And also, I'm sure for my parents, because they did help financially. If I needed help, they did. So I think that was where the journey began. I got my real estate license. It was crazy. My first closing, I went to the bank and I actually wanted to cash the check. because I wanted to see my children and I wanted my kids to be proud of me. And I wanted them to see, you know, I don't know. I was still young, right? I'm still 29 years old. I wanted to cash the check. And so I came home and I told the kids, hey guys, from now on, as long as mommy can, we're never going to need again. You can go upstairs and throw away all your hand-me-down clothes. And mommy's going to buy you pajamas. You're going to actually own pajamas. You're not going to have to sleep in your t-shirts and shorts anymore. And that was my motivation. I mean, the kids were in heaven. They were able to get toys. They weren't, you know, it was not easy from then forward, right? There was still a lot of obstacles. I still had a full-time job, a part-time job, and I was a mom of 3. Very different children, you know. It was, my mornings were crazy. I would go to work in scrubs. When I had a client, I would run to the real estate office, put dressy clothes on, run out the back door. I would even take my kids with me to showings, the 3 of them.
You know, I'm listening to you. Sorry to cut you a bit, right? I'm listening to you, and because I know that there are other single mothers that will watch this, and maybe even some people, maybe not even single mothers, but people going through extreme financial challenges that some of them even feel like giving up. You feel like your situation is beyond, you know, survival. Like you cannot take the stress anymore. So that's why I want you to just share something, right? What did that first spark of new possibility felt like when you got that check? Because you've worked all your life receiving paychecks, and then you had your first deal, and that first deal, they handed you over a check, bulk money for the first time ever. What was the feeling like for a person who has lived a life that was all about survival? Can you just share a little bit?
It was, I actually felt proud of myself that I was able to overcome the odds. Being of minority descent and growing up with a single mom as well. I felt so proud. And from then forward, I knew that defeat, no matter what came, was not going to overcome me. And that the best thing that we have is an opportunity to make a change. That I knew that I realized that laying in a bed and crying, it's okay temporarily, but that I had to get up and show up first and foremost for myself. And that anything is possible. It's not easy. And there's so many defeats that we go through in life, whether it's relationships, our own children, that we go through our trials and tribulations. But it was a sense of, I am going to be okay. And I am never going to look back and be a victim anymore. I cannot allow myself to be victimized by the fact that I had children by myself and that I didn't have the proper support system that I needed. And I just said, you know, if someone else can do it, I can too. I just have to continue to stay focused. It doesn't mean that it's still not an easy roller coaster. I still go through so many obstacles. Sometimes I feel like I'm constantly on fight or flight. Something happens and I'm like, how are we going to resolve it? So the best advice I can always say, even for single moms, is to take time for yourself and know that you have to take care of you first so that you can be a good mom, right? Because, you know, a lot of feelings that we have as single parents, or maybe parents that are very busy, is we feel defeated and we feel guilty because we're not doing enough. We're not giving enough to our children. And that was probably one of my biggest downfalls, always wanting to do more for them, not realizing that I have to take care of me first. Defeat is, you know, it happens. And I keep using that word because I feel like as a single mom or just a mom that's having a hard time in financially, because financially, if you're not stable, everything else seems like a big blur. Okay. So to me, it's be your best cheerleader. In the morning, I believe in myself. I believe in my calling. I believe in what God plans He has for me. No matter what we see happening, it doesn't mean you don't have a moment to cry it out and be upset, but to just say, I got this. I believe in myself. I believe in my calling. I'm going to pass this. Tomorrow's another day. And, you know, I just, you know, and I know that I went completely off, but you always have that feeling of not being sufficed. But when you accomplish little things at a time, those are like stripes for me, right? You know, in the military, they get their stripes when they do things. And so I started to just say, I'm going to be an example. I'm going to show my kids that no matter what happens, we can overcome everything as long as we believe in a higher power and we know what we stand for.
I love the response to that question. Just insisting you would be the best no matter what happens and putting your best. That's why I asked you what was the feeling like when you held that check. And then you answered another question I was actually thinking about asking you, to take us. But if you have any other addition, you can actually go ahead and ask and respond. But, I was just thinking, because I know that yes, you started real estate, but then you were doing it part-time. And then before you went, full-fledged into business, right? But one thing we know in business, in the journey, right, is challenges. Like challenges, I would say are normal for a business owner, right? I wanted you to just take us back to a time where you just felt like, okay, maybe this challenge was just too difficult and you almost gave in to the fear of failure. Like you were like, failure is going to win this time. But what did you do to be able to overcome that particular very terrible situation?
I tell you, I feel like life is always full of challenges and they're going to continue to come. I opened up a real estate company with partners and I woke up one day and I said, I'm quitting. I can't take it anymore. This market is unstable. It was just a moment where I felt like I was just done. I didn't want to continue. I didn't want to be a mom. And let's be real. We go through that moment where like, can I just be a person? I realized that if I allowed to stay there, then I was just going to fall into a deeper place, a darker place. And it was going to be so much harder to get up that I had to say, okay, let's go back to basics. Let me feel for a moment what it felt like when I really had no options. Because I couldn't do anything to knowing to say, hey, you know what? Though I want to give up, though I'm going to give up, because I woke up and I said, I'm quitting real estate. I'm done with everything. I can't, because real estate is like any entrepreneur has its ups and downs. And I found myself back in the situation where I was when I was much younger. And I said, no, Erica, you've come too far to go all the way back. Now, in life, things happen where I have to have gone backwards. But I've always overcome those obstacles by saying, again, being my best cheerleader. You got this. Let's go, girl. Let's get up. Today's another day, another opportunity. And if I don't get it right today, I'm going to get it right tomorrow. So I feel like, and it happens, I can say that I'm in a place right now as well where I've kind of at points where I felt defeated and said, oh my God, I just opened up my company 3 years ago. It's been a crazy journey, but I remember that I've done this before and my children were little and I keep saying, okay, Erica, we gotta fight through these times, right? Life is like surfing. You gotta catch the wave, whether it's a small wave or a big wave. And if not, enjoy the beauty of what's happening around you. Sometimes I say maybe I'm not 100% normal because people would probably say I'm quitting. And I would say, no, I'm going to push through those barriers and I'm not going to give up on myself. So, it's being an entrepreneur was risky business for myself, but it changed also the fact that I was able to work a lot of longer hours, but spend a lot of more times at home. So, during hardships, I keep saying, everybody always says, put your best foot forward. I think that you need to put 2 feet forward to take a step forward because 1 foot forward is not all the way there. And for a long time, when you feel like you're lost, you feel like you're going backwards. I always say 2 feet forward so I can just take a step forward. I pray through my defeats. There's days, there's challenges all the time. I pray through it. I don't know. I wake up in the morning and I put on my praise and worship music and I say, okay, it doesn't matter what it seems like. I live in this fairy tale world that I make of myself, and I'll put music and I'll put myself and say, okay, I got this. I got this. Even when I don't have this, I'm gentle with myself. I give myself a short break, but I try not to stay there. And I always say, as long as we're alive, we can figure out a way.
Yes. Wow. 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 Erica, thank you so much. One thing I can just hear from you again and again is just a fighter, right? Someone who is just focused and ensuring that I must get it done. And that's the only way we can actually be successful. If you're there right now and you're trying to do something, you feel like you're disadvantaged, having that clearer picture and taking action. Because one thing you can hear from Erica's story is she took action. No matter what happens, no matter what came her way, she was just taking actions with a positive mindset. Another beautiful thing is right now you're in a place where you're not just running an agency alone, right? You've provided opportunities for over 24 agents, I think. And when you provide opportunity for an agent, you're providing for the agent and the agent's family, right? And, I'm just trying to think about it, right? You're trying to put yourself out there and help yourself, but now you're helping people. Because when you provide employment or you provide opportunity for people to make money in your agency, you are helping families, you're helping people. So when did you realize that your mission had grown beyond yourself, right? Beyond survival? And how did you achieve this? Because people are listening and they're going to learn from you.
So, I say it's always good to surround yourself with good people. Okay. And I had an amazing mentor that she also, when I got into real estate, she was my broker at the time's wife. And that woman was constantly, come on, Erica, I look up to you. I have children and I have a husband and I can't do this. And I see you doing it, and she just continuously pushed me and taught me, you're not a realtor, you're a business owner. You love to help people. You do right by people. Your business is going to grow. And I decided when I took a leap in faith and I sold a building in my hometown of Elizabeth, where I currently am now, that's when I decided to go into real estate full time. But I always had that push and someone to mentor me and train me and coach me and actually push me also. It is important to have also people pushing you when you're weak, right? That's when I decided that I wanted to build a team because I wanted to help agents I wanted to help people that felt that they were in a situation that they couldn't get out of and they didn't have anyone to help them. So I started to build a team of agents. A few were single moms as well. For me, that was something very personal. It doesn't mean that was all that to help, but for me, it was, hey, you know what? I've been there. And so that's why I wanted to help other agents to be able to learn what I learned and to have the support and the mentorship that I had. And so I started building a team. And with building the team, it led from one agent to two agents. And for me, it's so gratifying to see them be able to see a change in their life, to see them have goals and accomplish them. And again, not because of me, but because God has put me in the position to help them. Somebody helped me. And I feel like life for me from a very, very, very young girl was always about servicing, giving, right? Not to expect anything in return, but knowing that's just the law of life. You do good, you get good. Yes, you do good and get back, but that's not where I stay focused on. And so for me, it was more personal. It was more helping people grow because someone helped me grow. And so, the team started to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And I now have 24 agents. It's so nice to see the children grow up and to know that, hey, you know what? I was able to impact them. And the day that it's my turn to leave this wonderful earth, that I can say, you know what? That people can say, you know what? She gave back as much as was given. There were I meet angels in my life still all the time. God puts amazing people in my life that help me because I don't have it all figured out. So, giving back to me was always been a dream of mine. I've always wanted to also go to schools. I haven't gotten there yet and talk to other young girls. And again, I don't want to just say girls in general, but it's been my passion to go back to urban areas and say, hey, you can do this. Like, you don't have to stay here. But because I was there and I had the right people surrounding me that would say, teach me, guide me. Mm-hmm. So here I have 24 agents, and I love to see them. You know, some agents have nothing and they get a car. To me, every win that they have is also a win for me. We celebrate together. So my goal was to give back what was given to me and to share the knowledge that I have forward and to help as much as I can. And trust me, there's days that I feel like I can't even help myself. There's a lot of challenges that I still go through on a personal level with my children and my grandchildren. You name it, I could probably write a book, been there, done that. So that's, to me, almost motivates me when I'm helping someone. I say, okay, all right, Erica, come on. I'm helping them, and I'm also helping myself. So for me, it's always been wanting to help them. So that's gratifying. I've always felt good by helping and giving back.
Service, giving back, that's like your vision, that's your goal, that's what drives you. And that's why you wanted to be a nurse. And that's why you were serving in the healthcare. You know, you can just see the whole trend of just wanting to help. You know, if I would ask you, right, like, for new agents that come into your team, especially for those struggling, what's like one or two word of motivation you give to them to encourage them to keep striving and just to keep pushing up, working hard and giving their best?
I usually tell them, get a piece of paper and a pen. We have some questions. And I start by saying, what are 3 things that you would love to buy and financially that you cannot afford? Give me 3, and then give me your whys. And after I ask them for their whys, what are the 3 things that you're strong at? Okay. Once I feel like you have your why, I put sticky notes at home everywhere to remind myself. I always make my whys stronger than my no's. And so with the agents that first come to me, I always help them kind of figure out what it is that they want out of life. Why do they want it? What are their strengths? And let's work with that. So with my new agents, that's kind of like, okay, and how much money do you want to make? And let's see if I can help you achieve it. Because that's my goal, is you're with me. But a lot of times I always say, man, your whys are it.
Your whys are it.
That is the driving factor.
Yes, your whys are it. I love that. I love that. I know that's one of the reasons for Building Financial Capacity series. You know, the why is sharing stories of people from all walks of life, right? How they've been able to build financial capacity from where they were to where they are right now. Like, that's the why of this series. And I love what you said. Your why is it. Your why is it. Now, one thing I know is you're not where you started from. You built financial capacity, Erica, and congratulations to where you are. I know you're aspiring to even go higher. I know you would say that the journey is just beginning, and I believe you're going to do even greater things. Like, we're just starting out, right? And if you're watching and you want to be a part of PG Realty Group, I'll put a link in the description so you can reach out and you can just even part-time, right? People can actually be part-time agents. Exactly. So I'll put the link in the description, her contact, so you can reach out and even be a part-time agent. Only God knows. Maybe one day you're going to have your own agency and have lots of agents under you, right? So I want to ask you, Erica, yes. I know you built financial capacity and what you have right now, right? But what is, I would say, one thing, you know, you've learned in your journey to building financial capacity thus far? Is there one thing that you just like to share? Just one that you think is something powerful in your journey to building financial capacity?
One powerful thing. I gotta go back to my whys. Everything I do because of my whys. I adore my children. I love, like I said, my grandchildren are my world. And so for me, financial stability, even though we don't always have it, everything that glitters isn't always gold, right?
Exactly.
But it's saying, okay, I know what I've struggled and I don't want to go back there. Not as long as I can. So if there's one thing that I can say that always pushes me forward, I gotta say, it was just this one memory just came to mind. My daughter, I dropped her off in school. She ran back to my car. She put her little face in the window. She says, Mom, when I grow up, I want to be just like you. That was it. That was like, that still stays in my mind when my children, my wives are watching me. And I gotta teach them that we don't give up on us. We can give up on things. We don't give up on us.
Love it.
So that I would say, have your whys lined up. Don't give up on yourself. And it doesn't always seem great at the moment. Life is like a roller coaster, but continue to, as long as you have the air to breathe and the desire to breathe the air, push forward. Life is beautiful. Stop and smell the roses. Take time, but don't give up on yourself.
Wow. You said so much, and I know you said so much, but I'm just still thinking, there are some people that may be watching this and the person is still saying, I don't think Erica understands what I'm going through right now. I'm in the dark right now. Feeling trapped. I'm feeling hopeless. What is one story or something or one belief about maybe themselves that you need them to hold on to, even at this moment as they're listening to you, to begin their own journey?
I want whoever's watching and listening that I am in a very weird place in my life as well. I am in a journey that is unexplainable. And the one thing that I can hold on to is God.
Wow.
I know that He is with me and He is for me. I can't sit here and see anything else because I too, though I have this real estate company and 24 agents, I'm going through a place that there's moments that I wake up in the morning and I'm like, do I really got to stand up off this bed? But I hold on to Jesus and I know the calling He has over my life. And I know sometimes we're not supposed to get too religious or anything like that, but it's the truth. That is, I hold on to that, keep holding on to that. If God is for me, who could be against me? I got this. I can do this. We're human. And again, like I said, I will say it again. I am just been going through something very personal that has me in a place where I have to feel like I'm happy, sad, but know who you belong to and know that there is a way. Focus on the solution, not the problem. Focus on the solution. The only thing that we can't come back to is when we die. But as long as we're alive, try to say, okay, what can be the solution? And even though it seems like such a far-fetched solution, take 2 steps forward towards it. Before you know it, you'll be there. And it passes. Everything passes.
Wow. Focus on the solution, not the problem. I love that so much. And I think when we're rounding up this series with that phrase, right, or sentence, focus on the solution, not the problem. Thank you so much, Erica. I really enjoyed having this conversation with you. Thank you so much for being so vulnerable and sharing your story. I believe you're going to really go far. Like we talked about privately, I was like, Erica, you need to write a book. You need to start something motivational out there. I know, we talked about, there's so much. I feel like there's so much God has planned out for you. And thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching.
Sorry to cut you off. It just came to my mind. Every no is one closer to your yes.
Awesome.
Every door that you knock on doesn't open, you're getting closer to your yes. So it's about perception. You can look at the no and feel defeated, or say, hey, you know what? Get optimistic and say, I'm closer to my yes. Keep knocking until that opportunity opens.
Wow. Thank you so much. And I think we're done. No more addition. Thank you so much. This is awesome. Yes. So every no, you're closer to your yes. Thank you, everyone. Take care.